Hello again, my friends. This is the boy and his dog, and welcome to another episode of Hammer Thoughts, the show where we talk about all things Hammer related. In today's episode, we've got a bumper edition where lots of exciting news to go over and 3 new releases to review, 2 from the Hammer Presents range, and a feature-length documentary to talk about, all interesting in their own way. But first up, let's catch up on all the latest Hammer news, and as always, there's a fair bit of exciting stuff to talk about. So first up, the Hammer Horror Omnibus Volumes 1 and 2. We can now see the new covers, and I love them. They could have gone for something a lot more arty, I'm sure, but these fit very well, I think, with what they're about. So I'm happy about that, but sadly what I'm not so happy about is, looks as though they have been moved back to the 5th of January of 2027. I was hoping at least we'd get them to have over October or December. Would have been perfect Halloween or Yuletide reads. But as always, alas. Next up, of a simple but cool thing, it's a directed by Terence Fisher t-shirt, which is out now. I think it's about 20 quid, unless I've got confused. It's quite tempted, but I'd love a directed by John Gilling or Freddie Francis as well, if I'm honest. They'd be awesome. But either way, this is a pretty nifty cool t-shirt. Now this is what I'm really excited about, X the Unknown. It's our first big box of the year and I'm so happy about this. This is the unofficial Quatermass movie, the original sequel to Quatermass without the license, but it's so good. This is out on the 27th of July. Now we're only getting 4 discs with this release, so it's no Curse of Frankenstein. I think that this kind of release will be waiting in the wings for Dracula, don't you? I'm sure that'll be a big bumper 6-disc set. So you've got 2 4K discs and 2 Blu-rays, 3 versions of the film, which is always welcome, the more the merrier. We've got original mono or brand new 5.1 audio mix. I always forget to mention the awesome audio. We've got 3 new commentaries and an archive one from 2003. And one of the new ones is with the lovely Toby Haddock. He always pops up when we're talking about Nigel Neal, even if this is adjacent to Nigel Neal, but it's still connected, you know what I'm saying? Sort of created in the absence of him. Also included is a rare Hammer short film, and I love those. They're much harder to get hold of than the proper length movies. Even the short film has its own commentary track. There's a making of documentary and at least 5 more documentaries covering various aspects. Of course, you've got the obligatory 128-page book with new articles, a double-sided poster of original 1 sheets, 8 art cards based on the lobby cards from the time, and it's all packaged in a high-end leather feel slipcase with a rigid inner box featuring artwork by cult favourite Robert Samelin, I think that's right. But paint me ridiculously excited, and what has me even more excited, this fills the gap we have between the Quatermass experiment, Curse of Frankenstein, and Quatermass 2. Now we know we are getting Dracula. Now between Quatermass 2 and Dracula is another one of my favourites, written again by Nigel Neal and starring Peter Cushing, The Abominable Snowman. Now if X the Unknown is getting the big box treatment, then surely the big snowy buggers are too. Oh, I'm very excited to find out. I really hope so. I love that film. I did think maybe they'd skip and jump to Dracula, but they're not, so yes, very excited. And I'm guessing Dracula could be out around October, don't you, for Halloween? Anyway, very happy. Right, so next on the 20th of July, we've got the next Hammer Presents, and it's Murders in the Rogue Morgue. Now, interesting, is it Rogue? It's Rue Morgue, isn't it? Sorry. Now, interestingly, unlike the last couple of Hammer Presents, we have 2 options for this release, both separate, 4K or Blu-ray. And interestingly, we also get 2 versions of the film, the original director's cut and AIP's theatrical cut. Now, knowing how quiet the Banshee went, I may be happy for the AIP version. if it's a bit harsh, I don't know, I ain't seen it. But it sounds like the director's cut is much more dreamlike, and I always like a bit of dreamlike. So definitely excited to see this for the first time, and that is the 20th of July. And don't forget, we still have coming later this month, a horror in its own way, Indicators Hammer Volume 7 Ships and Giggles, which is unsurprisingly a Hammer comedy collection of 4 films: The Ugly Duckling, Don't Panic Chaps, A Weekend at Lulu, and Watch It Sailor. Prepare to be terrified and scream, but for all the wrong reasons. Oh, We've also got the House of Hammer Volume 1. I'm really excited about that. That's on the 15th of June. We've got 36 Hours Limited Edition on the 15th of June also. And on the 26th of June, there is the Shatter Limited Edition Vinyl LP soundtrack. And is Stephen getting that? Not saying. And now on to today's reviews, and I've got 3 of the Devils for you, a documentary and 2 more from the always interesting Hammer Presents range. Always interesting to me at least, as they are generally titles I haven't seen before so far. Today's are no different, but can they beat the last one? That was truly something, wasn't it? Let's take a look. So for our first release this evening, we are neither looking at Hammer Limited Edition or a Hammer Presents release. Nope, this was originally created for Sky and is a feature-length documentary, Hammer Heroes, Legends and Monsters. Our first, but not least, solely documentary release. The next one, which I'm so very excited about, is releasing next month. Oh, I'm gonna be a pig wallowing, believe me. But back to today, let's take a look. Narrated by Charles Dance, Hammer Heroes, Legends and Monsters unearths the true story behind the trailblazing studio that changed horror cinema forever. From humble beginnings, Hammer Films went from relative obscurity to global recognition thanks to a run of thrilling horror films that are loved by fans worldwide and remain influential to this day. Featuring rare footage, untold stories and key insights from cast, crew, filmmakers and fans, this acclaimed feature-length documentary covers Hammer's turbulent history and lasting influence on a genre within which it is rightly revered. Now straight off the bat I can tell you this is a lovely little documentary, but not the heaviest, as in it doesn't go into the real nitty-gritty of it all, but I am impressed it does at least touch on the beginnings and on exclusive and the early work. But when I say touch, I'm talking waving a feather ever so slightly against it, you know what I'm saying? There are some lovely faces popping up to contribute from famous horror directors, historians and actual Hammer casting crew, including a few of my absolute faves. But it's more a general overview of the behind the scenes than a film by film, blow by blow account. There is definitely enough here to keep you interested, and for those who know little before coming in, this is a great bumper pack to get you in the know. But if you've been really getting into collecting all the new Hammer range, you will already have the absolutely amazing 2.5 hour long documentary about Hammer from the last disc on the Curse of Frankenstein set, and the 2-part feature-length documentary about Nigel Kneale on the 2 Quatermass collections, which go into much more detail. The other interesting thing to think about are the 2 versions of the documentary in this collection. We have the Sky broadcast version, narrated by Charles Dance. You can't go wrong with Charles Dance, but you can go wrong with an AI Peter Cushing popping up at the end, and not good AI at that. I will say though, how lovely is this packaging? I love that little arch thing, and look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It's like a movie poster in it, and they're all there. All the important ones. Wow, there's a couple missing. But I like the fact that Captain Kronos is over there as well. Awesome. It's got the same back. Anyway, going back to what I was saying. Yeah, it's got dodgy AI, but Cushing's estate did allow it, so we won't get too upset about that. But this is a 2-disc box set. So what other wonders do we get with the documentary? Well, disc 1 is the feature-length documentary narrated by Charles Dance and featuring an AI Peter Cushing. Also included though a lovely cosy 9-minute behind the scenes. It certainly put a smile on my face. Also, as should always be, a theatrical trailer. Now what's important is disc 2. There is an alternate version of the documentary without Peter's AI, excuse me, and featuring the ever beautiful goddess herself, Valerie Leon, narrating. The rest, as far as I can tell, is identical to the broadcast version. We also have a decent selection of extended interviews with various collaborators featured within the documentary. Bear in mind, there will be repeated footage here, but it keeps to the person without cutting away and adds nice little details here and there, so I feel a total worthy watch as well as the main feature. And next up is the silly title Dr. Blood's Coffin, the first from our Hammer Presents range today. The reason I think the title's silly, I'll get onto in a moment, but first, let's take a look. A man goes missing in the sleepy village of Porthcawl, Povkaran. I don't know how you pronounce it. The latest victim in a series of horrifying medical experiments carried out by the arrogant and maniacal Dr. Peter Blood. Fixated on creating life from death, Blood is determined that his gift is only for those he considers worthy, at the cost of those he doesn't. With a working title of Face of Evil, Doctor Who fans take note, though they are nothing alike. Dr. Blood's Coffin was originally filmed at Walton Studios and on location at Zenart, Cornwall, in less than 20 days during June and July of 1960. This was also Britain's first colour zombie movie. Bizarrely, Hammer's rather wonderful The Plague of Zombies, directed by the equally wonderful John Gilling, is touted as the first British zombie film, but Dr. Blood's Coffin came out first. Plague didn't appear until 1966. And if you have never seen Plague of Zombies and you like Hammer, sort it out, fella my lad. What are you doing with your life? Oh, I love it. But more on that title when we get to it in my Year in Hammer series. Now, this is a funny old film. There is a lot to love and a lot to scratch your head at. Number one to love is the location, Cornwall. The cinematography has no right to be this good considering what we are talking about. This film is glorious to look at. I know I say that a lot about these older films, especially the black and white ones, but that's just because it's true. So many are so beautifully shot. The details of the locations and sets, always top notch. The next reason to love is, of course, the ever beautiful, ever wonderful Hazel Court. Who doesn't want to spend the afternoon in Cornwall with Hazel Court? I think we've already won, yeah? The strangest element for me, though, is the title for the movie and the villain of the piece. The film likes to take a bit of time to tell you who it is, and tells you in a rather cool way, I thought. Unfortunately, giving someone the name Dr. Blood and putting that on the cover of the box kind of ruins that early trick. It reminds me of classic Who. We'll leave the big bad of the story for the first cliffhanger of the serial, but we'll put the big bad in the title of the story. See, probably every Dalek story that's ever been released, bar probably one I'm not thinking of. More to love, there are some great little characters that pop up. There's some subtle but dark moments and some random, surprisingly gory ones. Without giving too much away, whatever the villain injects his victims with, they are awake, aware when he operates on them. Nothing is said, but you see their eyes open while he cuts into them and starts taking parts out. It's kind of slightly horrific. This is the first British colour zombie film, so where is the zombie? We get there, but don't expect Night of the Living Dead here. Remember how much Christopher Lee's Dracula is in the first Dracula? Think that sort of timeline, yeah. Most memorable moment, one of the poor victims seemed to get some kind of power back, only slightly though, and they attempt to crawl to safety. Now this goes on for much longer than one would expect, and I was all in on it, on whether he'd get away or not. I was genuinely on the edge, willing this poor man to make it. Honestly, he keeps coming back to him and he's just crawling and crawling and crawling, and he gets so close and it's very cringe. Does he make it? You have to watch it yourself to find out. Now, downside, the script could be better. Things are spelled out too much, and the ending is the ending. The villain's reasons for doing what he does, to me anyway, doesn't really make sense. I'm finding it hard to see the point. You can see the parallel to the Curse of Frankenstein, but there you get what Christian Barron is doing. Here, not so much. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. The back blurb on the box and the title do enough of that. Right, special features, we've got a 2026 commentary with the wonderful Kevin Lyons, who you can follow with the equally glorious Becky Dark as they go through the Hammer horrors themselves on their Hammer Time podcast. I believe they're up to The Nanny. With Kevin on the commentary is one of the best when it comes to gothic horror, Jonathan Rigby, and they make a wonderful jolly double act through this movie. A wonderful listen, you're definitely in good hands with these two masters. There's also a theatrical trailer and an image gallery. So we're not chock-a-block, but this is something we're used to with the Presents range. Overall, this film has great elements that probably don't come together into a great, wonderful movie, but I still enjoyed it. And the great elements really are great. Again, who can say no to visiting Cornwall with Hazel Court? I certainly can't. I will also admit that I enjoyed this film more on a second viewing. I think I watched it 3 times in the end for this review, once for the pleasure, once for the commentary, and a final time for my notes for the review. And I could, again, such as the cinematography, Hazel, and all the other things I've mentioned. Just don't go in expecting a classic or a villain and ending that makes any sense whatsoever. And finally today we are talking about the third release and the second of today's Hammer Presents, The Snake Woman. Let's take a look. Controlling his wife's madness with regular doses of snake venom, Dr. Addison. I know, you're allowed to groan. In fact, let's groan together. Ugh. Dr. Addison is horrified when she dies giving birth to an unblinking daughter who is cold to the touch. The demented midwife, now that's an understatement, chased out the house after trying to murder the baby, returns with an angry mob who set the house ablaze. 20 years later, an Edwardian detective investigates a series of venomous deaths in the same village, featuring superstitious villagers, murderous hags, a supernatural world spirit, and a modern take on the other in society. Now, this was supposedly shot in 6 days, in black and white and with feckle budget, and interestingly shot straight after Dr. Blood's Coffin by the same director, Sidney J. Fury. And if that name rings a bell, unless I pronounced it wrong, in the back of your head, he went on to direct Cliff Richard's The Young Ones and Wonderful Life. But sadly, it seems not the one I liked watching as a kid some holidays. I liked it, okay, sue me. He also directed The Icarus File and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Now, if snakes freak you out, then the film ain't for you. There's a lot of them, and as far as I can tell, they're all real. The problem I had was the opposite. Like the many-legged puppies that are spiders, I think snakes are awesome too. And for the age of this film, I worry they treated them okay. But I appreciate loving old movies like I do. There are some things that just are, or were, and I have to just live with it. Moving on. Such an interesting tale. And bizarre. It's quite a chill tale, no one is rushing to anything, and it's a short tale, clocking at only 1 hour and 8 minutes. It's rather a simple tale in many ways, but there are a few interesting elements to it if you want to look a bit more, but nothing deep or special. I of course love that it is in black and white, it gives a lovely atmosphere to the location, I just don't think would be there in colour. I love the opening with the shepherd and his dog playing his flute while the narrator begins our tale. But what the husband thinks he's doing in the opening moments of this story, if anyone's mad, it's him. The fact he's surprised and saddened by the only obvious outcome, death, is kind of funny, but it's tragic nonetheless. The secondary outcome to what he's been up to is beyond ridiculous, but it sets up the chain of events that affects the village 20 years later. The rest of the movie is very much Saint Venomous is killing the villagers, and it's very obvious who that is. The story doesn't really hide it. A detective from Scotland Yard is sent in to investigate half an hour into the story, bearing in mind there's only about half an hour left, so he's not given much time to do investigating. And let's be frank, hi, I'm Frank, but he's not the brightest, passing the time playing the flute and befriending a strange beautiful girl out in the wilds outside the village. Nothing strange about her at all, or the fact that she appears when he plays said flute and says she loves it, almost like she's been charmed or something. Anyway, we've got some special features on here. There's a 2026 commentary with Heidi Honeycutt and Sarah Morgan. I remember their names. I think they're on one of the other collections, but I can't remember which one. It's a wonderful listen. You're definitely in good hands with these two masters. There's also a theatrical trailer and an image gallery. So again, not a huge amount of extras, but for presents, I think it's fine. Overall, I did have fun with this film. It does have some great shots of snakes, a slightly ridiculous story with a dumb as all hell hero character. Is he a hero character? I'm not sure. But the star of the show is the demented midwife. Even after 20 years, nothing slows that mad woman down. But that's about it. And that's about it for this episode. Thank you for joining me once more, and never forget, my dear friends, to keep on keeping on.